Hi, I'm Shane MacSweeney, the EMEA Head of Infrastructure, and I am delighted to welcome to Ireland Tony Canavan, our Global Head of Transport. Tony, you're hugely welcomed here back to these shores. Tony, what do you see as the key transport trends going forward over the next 3 to 5 to 10 years?
Thanks, Shane, and it's great to be here again. Look, I think the biggest and hottest topic of the day is decarbonisation of transport. It's dominating every conversation I'm having with transport agencies around the world. And I think, when you think about what is entailed in decarbonising transport, it's much more than just transitioning to electric vehicles, as big a challenge as that is. It's also about changing the shape of our cities, changing our travel behaviours, introducing more public transport, active transport, etc. So decarbonisation and managing that transition is the biggest by a mile, I think. But in addition to that, in recent times, probably accelerated by the pandemic, we've seen a lot of changes in travel behaviour. Work from home, much more local travel, much more cycling, etc. The peak demand has dropped right off. And so how do we adjust our transport system around those new behaviours? And so transport agencies are really starting to take that on, and that's going to shape the future in the next few years.
Thanks, Tony. And certainly in Ireland, we're seeing a number of those trends as well. You mentioned decarbonisation. Governments throughout the world are really focused on and grappling with decarbonisation right now. What do you see as the government's biggest challenge in order to achieve this? And what do you really see as the key areas in how they can overcome it and achieve it?
Yeah. Well, as we discussed before, it is bigger than just transitioning to electric vehicles, albeit I think that's the biggest challenge. But just recapping those things, it does encompass an entire change in our travel behaviours, the choices we make, the shape of our cities, and addressing the whole supply chain of transport, not just electric vehicles. But let's talk about electric vehicles because we have these big ambitious targets now set. Ireland is right up there. But other countries have really ramped up the ambition about electric vehicles. The question in my mind is, can industry meet that ambition? We're already seeing some long periods of delay for the delivery of electric vehicles, and some of the big manufacturers are pointing to supply chain issues with batteries. So I think that we've got some challenges around supply chain and flowing through to meet those targets. And so governments will need to keep the incentives up, I think, and work hard on those supply chains to achieve their targets.
Thanks, Tony, and we're certainly seeing a number of those issues in Ireland. You've been in Ireland now for the course of the past few days, meeting numerous transport officials. What key takeaways are you going to bring back to Singapore?
I've heard and seen some very positive things, actually, Shane, to tell you the truth. In many countries, in fact, every other country in the world, every other major city, public transport ridership, for example, is down compared to pre-pandemic levels. But here in Ireland, here in Dublin, it's up. You're up around 110, 115% compared to pre-pandemic. And that's fantastic because Ireland continued to invest in public transport services, continued to deliver a positive message about public transport. And that didn't happen in a lot of other countries. And so that's a great foundation to build upon. Another thing that I've been really impressed about is just the action orientation around the decarbonisation agenda. I was speaking to Irish Rail. They're already out there ordering electric rolling stock. A lot of countries haven't made those sorts of decisions yet. And so there's some really great initiatives underway. But as I alluded to earlier, there's also those supply chain challenges, particularly around decarbonisation. And there's going to be a lot of competition amongst countries. And Ireland's going to have to battle hard, I think, to get the attention of the global supply chain to meet its targets. So, it's not all easy going, but a great foundation to build upon.
Thanks, Tony. You're always welcome on these shores, and it's great to have you here. And thanks everyone for listening as well. We'll share our contact details with this video as well. Thanks for listening.